Okay, so I have been single for a long time, and being single in church, you're looking for somebody in the church. You're looking for that truly saved, sanctified, Holy Ghost filled man who loves the Lord more than anything else. But that really hasn't been my experience. You know, brothers will come into the church. Um, it'll appear that they have a relationship with God, and the next thing you know, they're gone. And then the next thing you know, we'll get word, oh, they married somebody from the outside. So there's a phrase, missionary dating. So a lot of people will go out and get somebody from the world and bring them back into the church. They're grown. What can anybody say? What can anybody do? Um, I myself also did missionary dating. I'll admit it. I got married. I was married for 4 years. He did not love the Lord. And so that did not work out. But I learned a lot from it. And I thank God for that experience because it was a must need go through situation. So then I'm single again. And I'm not throwing the brothers under the bus, but just like the sisters is looking for the right one, the brothers are looking for the right one as well. And just because you're in church does not mean that you are equally yoked. Um, Sometimes it takes getting to know people, and sometimes we don't have that environment in which to really get to know people. Like today, we're having this singles event, but we're kind of sectioned off. So if there was someone interested in another individual, would they actually have a conversation with them? Would they really ask those dating questions? Because dating is just compiling data. You want to really know what that person is like. Just because you saved and I'm saved does not mean we compatible. Where God has me going may not be where God has you going. So dating in church can be sometimes very lonely. Um, you get the term is halt, hungry, angry, lonely, and tired. And when we get into that stage, chaos breaks loose because then we start accepting whatever because we're tired. We're tired of being single. We're tired of being lonely. But in the loneliness, in the phases that God has us in, there's growth there. And He wants us to be comfortable with us. You know, His word says He'll withhold no good thing from us. So when I get in my moments where I'm like, okay, Lord, I'm kind of tired of this, I have to stop and say, okay, Lord, you're working on me. You are trying to improve who I am as a person. And then I have to say, am I really ready for that person? Is my life in a place where that person can come in and I'm good, I'm comfortable, I'm not panicking like, oh my God, I gotta go clean out my car. My trunk is a mess, which it is. But He wants us prepared. And when the time is right, if that is His will, He will bring someone into our life. So dating in church is not easy. It is not for the faint at heart. You have to know who you are in Christ. You have to be rooted and grounded in His word. That whether you get somebody or you don't, you're fine. And in His timing and His season, He will bring that person. But a lot of us will missionary date. We will get ahead of God, and it will turn out to be a disaster. And we wondering, how did I get here? How did this happen? And we have to look at it was decisions we made. And He's always there trying to direct and guide us, but we get tired, we get lonely. And when we get in those phases, that is the time we need to sit down and say, what is it that I really truly want? What is it that's causing me to be lonely? Is it because it's summer and I just heard a jazz song playing and I'm like, okay, I need somebody? You have to evaluate all these things. Sometimes you just have to change your environment. Get out, get involved, start doing stuff. Don't just sit there and waddle and whine about it because it's not going to change the situation. Because every time we do, and I'm pretty sure anyone listening to me knows, we've made some disasters because we got ahead of God. And everything that He does decent and in order. And He has our best at heart. So bottom line would be patient. Wait on God. Don't get ahead of Him. Everything that glitters is not gold. You know, the enemy will bring someone into church that looks saved, suited and booted, or, you know, long hair, Coca-Cola bottle shape, whatever it is. that may not be what God has for you, because the enemy always wants to send the substitute in first. And if we're not on point and listening and paying attention to what God is saying, we will get tricked. And that will just make it worse. You know, there's good things in singleness and there's bad things. But ultimately, if you got God, you can make it through. He will be with you. He'll never leave you nor forsake you. We just have to be steadfast and stand still while he's working.
Hi, my name is Amanda Butler. I am in my mid-40s and I am single. I was married before, but unfortunately, this is where I am now. I am excited about life. I love the Lord. I'm 5'3" and more to love. Check us out on We're Just Trying to Help Somebody. Hey, everybody. Welcome in. We are coming to you from our Singles Podcast. We're just trying to help somebody, and we hope that you will check in with us. Let us know all things that you are concerned about in the single life. I am one of the hosts, Amanda Butler, and I'm here single. I know what the life is about. I know what the struggles are. So we just want to become one with you all, bring you into our world in a special way and in a unique way. And without any further ado, I'd like to swing into our host and the CEO of this podcast, Bill Brown.
Bill Brown. Age into my 50s. Never married, no children, and yes, I'm into women and women only. I gotta say that these days. No offense. I'm self-employed for over 20 years, 16 years of that full-time. My business serves both the church community and local businesses and governments. I've been a member of North Park Apostolic Church since 1998. Baptized there in 1996. Holy Spirit filled since 1997. Working and serving every Sunday since the early 2000s. I'm also an ordained minister there. Not a preacher, but a worker. Just so you know where I'm speaking from, I've lived in San Diego for over 30 years, but I'm from Connecticut, a transplant. I wasn't raised in the church. My life conversion happened in my late 20s through early 30s. And as I stated earlier, I'm self-employed. So risk, sacrifice, and a lot of faith is a part of my makeup. I've learned that all of this comes into play when it comes to the type of person that I am. All right, so Amanda, I have a little issue. I'm a sound person.
Okay.
I've been in the church for over 20 years. And one day I was sitting down and I was thinking, how many weddings have I been a part of in our church, in the church, in the San Diego church community? How many weddings have I done? And how many people have actually met in this church environment, got married, and are still married? It was less than 10.
Wow.
It was less than 10. It was only
Less than 10.
I could count them on the hands like this. And in our church in particular, it was a little bit less than that. And it's something to me that I think we should talk about. I think the environment for single people in the church community is a little bit
Iffy.
very iffy. I was
To
trying
say the least.
Thank you for the word that I was trying to think of. Pretty iffy.
Yeah.
I know I'm very active when it comes down to trying to find someone as a single man.
Right.
I am a busy person. Most people who know me know I stay busy. But when I have time, I do try to do the best I can to try to search out and try to find my person. And I have not found her yet.
Well, your story sounds a lot like mine, but at the same time, just kind of swinging back to your concern, you were saying how, in your experience, we'll just say that you have been a part of, witnessed, and even done photography and sound for multiple weddings. And then when you look down the line, a large majority of those weddings or marriages are no longer. And it really speaks to what is the doom that is causing, divorces to happen. And then our world of single is now overpopulated, or as the higher ups would say, oversaturated. So it's like, how do we get to the root of that problem to find out, like, why is that? And I have a few ideas of why I think it is, but why do you think it is?
I don't know. And I think in my case as a guy, as a man, and again, excuse me, we were talking earlier off camera. Y'all gonna get my East Coast Ebonics when I speak.
He's giving it.
This is how I talk. I'm gonna be me.
Just filter through it.
So
do your best.
Yes. And if I think I'm off, off somewhere or whatever, I'll try to bring it to correct English and proper grammar and everything. But for me as a person or as a man in the church, I don't think the environment I think it's too spiritual. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
I think a lot of times, and again, this is from a man's point of view, single man's point of view, women will come into church and there's usually a male pastor. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times I think the pastor may be preaching to the majority of who he sees out there. Right. So single women kind of take to that a little bit.
Right.
And us single men, we come in and, I don't think, as a man personally, I don't think our needs or our struggle is being addressed from across the pulpit. Mm-hmm. I spoke with my pastor, I believe it was a few weeks ago. We had a men's meeting and we were talking about a certain scripture. And I'm like, well, that's, pertaining to married folks. Mm-hmm. But me as a single guy, viewing the scripture, I'm not sure if it really includes me, because I think, the scripture was talking about married people. And again, we don't get, as single people, we don't get the benefit of the doubt when it comes down to how to connect with people in the church in a godly way, I would say, or in a way that's acceptable, in a way that, we're not going to feel like we're convicted.
Right.
It's like, you try to come in and you try to come in a little hard or whatever. You see someone and it's like, that's the enemy trying to come in and take someone out, and I've seen that happen before. I've seen it, but not everyone's like that. Not every man is like that.
Right.
When it comes in, and I don't know why women will look at us as some type of predator, you know what I'm saying? And
you think that?
I do think that. I've heard that before.
Okay.
And I'm coming in there and I'm like, I came in with the right, I want to say the right motivations. Mm-hmm. The Lord had did some stuff in my life, turned me around, showed me, in my past how I operated as a man, out in the world and everything like that, and told me, we don't do that here.
Right.
So I shut it down and I took the time to learn, to find out how am I supposed to, as a single man, how am I supposed to view women in the church? How am I supposed to address them? How am I supposed to get to know them without them thinking I'm trying to mess up their walk or whatever the case may be? I've had conversations.
Yeah.
But
I think that it speaks to the scrutiny that the church in part is responsible for putting singles in or under. That singles ministry stigma, if you will. And so when it comes to, if we're just going back to, let's say, to readdress what you brought up initially, nobody's talking us through divorce. Nobody's telling us that when a marriage is dissolved, that there is a mourning that happens, MOURNING. A mourning happens because a death has occurred. Okay. So, and even in a breakup, something is over, something's dead, it's done with. And so the church, I don't want to say is not equipped. I believe that we're equipped for everything. I just believe that we don't tap into the right resources to deal with those things. And so with single life, I believe that scripturally it taps more into marriages, because that is what God, his natural call, that's what he wanted. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? But I believe that God even foreseen us in this dispensation of time now that it was a lot of single people down there.
Mm-hmm.
And he's making, way for us, and he's making intercession for us. But we still have that little piece that for those of us that serve in the church, we've built our entire life around the church. Okay. We think that our only dating is in the church.
Okay.
I would disagree with that. And I would disagree with that specifically because if the Bible tells us to go ye therefore teach all nations, baptize in the name of, those scriptures that get us out there and help us, and it's our guidance and our tool to minister to people, then what is the difference in dating someone that's not in the church and bringing them into the fold? And it's been referred to as missionary dating. But the thing is, even with missionary dating, every soul needs to be saved.
Right.
How do I know that the person that I am dating, how do I know I'm not supposed to minister to that person and bring them in? Though 9 times out of 10, that don't typically happen because we're not equipped.
Okay.
We don't have a guide. We don't have anybody that's out there saying, okay, singles, this is how this should be done, because if you try to structure it any one way, it's either going to be the church's way or it's going to be the worldly way.
Right.
There is no gray area.
Right.
So, and then to speak to as far as women looking at you like a predator coming into the church, I think that and I'm just going to speak for myself, I think that as a female being single, and there's not very many men in church, and I grew up in church.
Okay.
And I've always noticed the demographic of there's more women than men in the church. The few men that do trickle in church, 9 times out of 10, they're married. And then the other few, you just like, oh, that's my brother. You've already put him in the friend zone or the brother zone. So when that new guy comes in, it's either they're overly interested and every woman is trying to, make him be her husband because that's what God said. Or they just don't know how to take that because women have dominated the church scene for so many years.
Okay.
So it's just that breakdown of not knowing, like, you can get a bunch of singles together.
Okay.
I guarantee you, out of all those adult men and women, they're going to hone into who they feel most comfortable with. 9 times out of 10, it ain't going to be a man standing in a group of women, and it ain't going to be a woman standing in a group of men. There's going to be that separation. So we have lost the ability in part to be able to talk to each other, have dialogue.
Okay.
Just because I'm single and you single doesn't mean that the conversation has to go straight to sex.
That's
it can
correct.
go to, hey, Bill, how was your day today? What do you like to do in your free time? What is something that you desire to do in your future? These are just tools, but these little devices right here and other little things, where's humanity?
Right. So let me ask you this question. I've heard it, and I'm going to post a clip. You talked about so many women in the church and not that many men.
Right.
And here's a couple of clips at a single event that we just did that I want to just kind of bring up. And they're both asking. Okay, so we're here with Lena Swindle, president of the Singles Ministry at North Park Apostolic Church. And Lena always asks me this one question. Lena, what is this question?
Where are our men?
That's what she wants to know. So we're going to try to answer that right now. What is your question?
Why can't we have...
Name, I would say name, status. No, I'm just kidding.
No!
Just say, what's your question here?
Why can't we get more men to come to the singles gathering?
Where are the men? Of course,
Where are the men?
Okay. And as a man, I want to speak on that a little bit. I sit up in a place in our church where I kind of see everything where it comes in. I see everything.
Yes.
And I see guys come in and they'll come for a few weeks and then they disappear. The only ones, to me, it seems that they stay are the ones that find something to do. I was at a church recently. I did some work over there, and the next week they had a men's conference, so I had to watch their live stream. And as I'm watching the live stream, there's a bunch of guys coming up, a whole bunch of men with suits on. I'm like, there's a lot of dudes in here in this church. They all had titles and positions. They were all doing something. And I noticed, even in our church, most of the men that are in there, like you said, are either going to be married or they're actually working in the church. I work in the church. I've been working in the church for over 20 years. I'm sure, don't get me wrong, I know women see me. I see women.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of time us guys that are in the church are overlooked.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I think in that brother zone.
I think we get overlooked.
You are Brother Bill.
I'm Brother Bill. We get overlooked. Then sometimes it comes to me like, well, you're not trying to do anything. And then as Brother Bill, I'm sitting here and I'm like, well, I don't want to get in trouble with what's going on here. You know what I'm saying? This is just me. And again, I'm coming from the outside. I didn't grow up in the church. I came from a place where, we were pretty free when it came down to interaction with women. God gave me, he gave me something a few weeks ago. I was going to use a term, but he said, no, use this term. I grew up in short-term relationships. And that's the way I always viewed everything, was short-term.
Right.
It wasn't about being marriage-minded or anything.
This isn't forever.
Yeah. It was boyfriend and girlfriend.
Right.
Someone spoke on that at our picnic. I saw, is this my girlfriend? And we would last anywhere from 3 months to a few days sometimes. And I'm saying this with a smile on my face and it was like on to the next one back in the day. I got to the church and again, I think it was before I even got to the church, God started dealing with me on my relationships. And it's he pretty much said, it's time for you to settle down, Bill. And I didn't understand what he was coming at. I was used to viewing women in those relationships as short term.
Right.
So I had to relearn how to become marriage minded. And in that process, we're talking years of renewing my mind. You know what I'm saying?
Have you ever been married?
I have never been married.
Okay.
No, and this is, I said it in my intro, and I'm probably going to speak on this now. I'm flowing here. I'm probably going to speak on this with another podcast, which we're doing tomorrow. But I came up, I got saved. Actually, God came in my life in my late 20s, and I got saved 5 years after that. And during that 5 years was a time of transition for me, where I got to really take a look at myself and address some things.
Right.
And one of the things that I addressed was my relationship patterns at that time. And I saw, they pretty much all started this way and they ended this way. Started this way, ended this way. And God showed me that that's not right. So I get to the church and I see someone. I think I had my third year in the church. I got into my one serious relationship at that time. And I had to learn how to become marriage-minded and start viewing women as marriage-minded. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, okay, instead of now, it's like, okay, she looks good. Let's see if there's something there. Now it's like, she looks good. Well, let's see if our lives kind of line up. You know what I'm saying? Because this is now a forever thing. This is more long-term, no longer short-term. So I had to relearn. This is me, and I'm saying this. I'm saying all of this because I know other guys, and I'm gonna speak about too that I used to work with. That would, you mean to tell me if I go to your church, I have to blah blah blah? And I'm like, yeah, I had to learn how to do this. You know what I'm saying? And that's how we do it now in this environment. For me, it's been. I ain't gonna call it a stumbling block, but I'm stuck. I'm gonna be real. I'm stuck. I'm used to being able to go to someone, be direct, without feeling like I might interrupt her walk somehow and become some kind of, something. You know what I'm saying? And we get viewed like that sometimes if we do come that way.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But then if we don't, then we're friend zoned. You know what I'm saying? As you were saying, and kind of put, this is my brother so-and-so and blah, blah, blah. And then you start hearing things like, where are the men in the church? And I'm sitting there and I'm like,
right here.
Not only, watch this now, I'm gonna be real. Now, not only are we right here, and I know there's a whole bunch of us, but there's some good dudes in the church too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that I know that I think is a problem in our environment here. Again, I don't look at the church as a club. I used to go to clubs to hook up.
A hookup.
Right. I get it. I know the church isn't that, but at the same time, it's like, do we have to always be, especially for single folks?
Right.
Okay, for single people, do we always have to be so spiritual? Let me pray for you, brother. Type of stuff. You know what I'm saying?
No.
Yeah. I mean,
No.
where do we get past that so that we can get more than 10 marriages in 10 years? You know what I'm saying? Or 10 marriages in 20 years.
Yeah.
Let me rephrase that. 10 marriages in 20. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I was just talking to one of the couples. I did their wedding a few years back, and I said, man, you like one of the three that I know of that are still together. And that's crazy. And I'm going to get them to come out here and talk. I remember when they met. They were in our singles ministry. I remember when they met. They've been married, and they've been married now for, I think it's over 10 years now.
Yeah.
But that's rare.
It is. It is. And I think it also has a lot to do with a lot of people, especially when you grow up in the church, and this is not to beat up the church. Let's just clear the air. We're not here to nail the church to the cross, so to speak, but we are here to be honest, and we are here to talk about our own experiences and the things that we've gone through personally. And I will say this, and I can't speak on nobody's situation. I have to only speak on what I know of and what I have observed in my life. I've noticed a lot of people get married for various reasons. In the day of old, the man used to come to the female's house that he was interested in and ask for courtship, and they would court, or what they call court. And that courting period, they got to know each other. They got to know if I was going to be in love with you for the long haul, or maybe I wasn't. I learned in that period where we meshed. I learned in that period where we didn't get along and things we didn't agree on. But there was a learning period that either gave you, yes, this is my future, or no, this is not my future. So now we're in a time period where people are getting married for gain. People are getting married because it's a trend or a fad, believe it or not.
Oh, yeah.
I saw my homies get married, so I want to go get married, not knowing what homies are going through in their marriage.
Get married just
That's
to get
why
married.
it's important not to want what somebody else have, not to put their marriage down, but you don't know what they're going through behind closed doors. You're not privy to that information, And then people get married out of necessity. I needed you, you needed me at this particular time, but then you later find out, but we're not in love enough to sustain this situation. So there's many various reasons why marriages are not lasting. And so I think that in order for a marriage to be healthy, one, get to know who you are marrying. Get to know them. Find out what their plan is for the future. See if y'all's futures align, because if you get in a marriage and you find yourself beating this person over the head because they're not doing it the way you want it done, that's unfair.
Right.
That's unfair. It's
Right,
unfair
right.
for me to marry you and try to change you into what I want you to be. And
Exactly.
if I'm being, and I'm going to always be transparent, I was married. I had a great husband. I did. Great father to our kids. But because we went in wrong, I was trying to make him be what I thought he should be
Okay.
for me, instead of allowing him to be who he is as him.
Right.
And so that can destroy a marriage, because while you trying to balance him, you don't even have balance. And then there's just a constant, push and shove going on. So marriage is destroyed for many reasons. I stopped. I've been single for several years now. I stopped, and I don't think I ever did, to be honest. I never prayed to be married again.
Okay.
I'm not turning it down,
Right.
but I never prayed. That's not at the top of my list. I didn't pray to be married again. My prayer was, God, whatever you have for me, make me ready for it. Make me available for it. Make me mature enough to deal with it, and make me know that that's what it is supposed to be.
Right. Right.
Not marriage.
Right.
If marriage is under that umbrella of things in my prayer, then God will bring that when I'm mature enough.
Right.
But we do have to stop jumping in relationships.
Oh yeah.
And we're not ready.
Right.
So now when I feel loneliness creeping up on me as a single, the first question I ask myself is, girl, are you prepared to give up the fact that you can go get in your car at any moment and drive to the store without having to check in with somebody? Not saying that's a bad thing,
Good.
but you have to ask
Oh,
yourself
yeah,
realistic questions.
Oh yeah.
Are you ready to share your bed with somebody, have their toenails scratching you on your legs?
Mm-hmm.
Are you prepared to go in the kitchen and prepare a meal for your husband? Because as a wife, there's a level of submissiveness.
Okay.
But we have to ask those real life questions.
Oh yeah.
I don't think people ask that before they
Look,
get married no more. They just get married.
Look, let me tell you something. I've never been married, of course. I've been single all my life. I'm at home a lot of times, and I have my days, and I do the things that I do. I have a business that I'm building and running and everything. And there's times for me, I'm saying to myself, I'm like, man, I'm pretty good like this. Mm-hmm. Not that I'm having fun doing it. It's that what I want, some of the burdens I have, what I want to put that on someone else, unless they can understand and stuff, how my life is. And I got people as an entrepreneur, I got people calling me, and I have to pay this out and pay that out.
Yeah.
And I say to myself, I'm like, do I want to bring someone into this thing? And then there's days where I take days off and I'm chilling and I'm by myself and I'm like, it doesn't get any better than this. I'm glad there's no one here, interrupting my peace. And you know what I'm saying? At the 4th of July, I'm out on my deck and I got neighbors fighting over here, guy and a girl. I hear the arguments going on and everything. And I've been in relationships. I've been in, this is before I was saved, live-in relationships where they got pretty intense. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And to this day, I get in the car, and on the way to the car, I'm hearing people arguing and couples do, and I'm like, do I want that? And then there's also that part of me that's like, you know what? I'm tired of being alone. You know what I'm saying? I am very tired of being alone.
Yeah, Adam.
I know, yes, true. And I know I would be a great addition to someone else if they would get to know the person that I am, if they can accept, how I'm living at this point in my life, again, as a business owner. You know what I'm saying? It's not like I have a steady paycheck coming in. I make good money, but a lot of the money goes back into the business because I'm trying to build the business.
Right.
And I'm like that now. Let me, I'm gonna talk for a minute here. A while ago, one of the elders, he passed away. He was a big influence on my life, told me when I first started getting my business straight, he said, Bill, get your stuff now because when you get married, you're not going to be able to put your money towards your equipment and towards your business. And I've been doing that for over 20 years now. And I'm always saying, I'm like, okay, I'm almost done. I'm almost near where I want to be. But during that whole time, I'm sitting there, and I've dated during those times. I've dated women. I've taken them out. I've paid for the dates. I've put myself in a position. Can I handle this part, the financial part of this? Especially doing what I do, and I believe I will be able to. But I know that I'm the type of person that if someone were to come in my life, I know I would shut that part down and make sure that that person's taken care of. My thing is like, am I ready for that? You know what I'm saying? And can someone accept that? And it's hard. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I've had, I have a clip.
However, it seems like some of the brothers that are single don't step it up. It appears to me that a lot of the brothers are looking for what a sister can do for them. And, you need to bring something to the table besides a spoon and a fork. I think that you should be saved, filled with the Holy Ghost, and have real intentions on what you're looking for in a wife and not trying to have a girlfriend for the rest of your life.
What are you bringing to the table?
Right.
Okay. I don't own a home. I own a business. I sold my money into the business, and the business makes me money. You know what I'm saying? Enough to where there's contracts out there where I can buy a home easily, but I'm sewing into the business to get to that point where I can get those contracts and so on and so forth. And a lot of times as a man, I'm talking from a man's point of view, my responsibility, I feel a lot of times, is can I be able to take care of someone, or is she viewing me? Can he take care of me? You know what I'm saying?
She
You know-
probably is viewing.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah,
that.
yeah. I get that.
That is the question for anyone looking for something long term. And
Exactly.
it's a fair question is number one, can you lead me? Because a woman's not going to go where she can't trust.
Mhm.
And that's where you get a lot of backlash is when women have now begun taking care of men.
Okay.
We're now in positions where we're securing for men. And that's why you get a bunch of bitter single women because roles have been reversed.
Okay.
My femininity has been minimized, and now I have to step up in a masculine energy to take care of business.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? So it's very mature of you to assess and ask yourself, can I do X, Y, and Z? Am I ready? That's what a mature man would do versus a man who don't care. And hey, I'ma just get in this situation. I don't have nothing to offer her. I'm gonna milk her for everything she got, and then I'm gonna move on. And you have situations like that. But on the flip side of that, now you have women that's just like that.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna get you for whatever you got, and then I'm gonna move on. And so the roles are kind of almost reversed in a sense.
Mhm.
Not all men. We never generalize here, but you have those men that take a woman out of her femininity and put her in masculinity. And what I mean by that is when I have to stand up and take care of you and you not taking care of me.
Okay. So now I'm of a certain age now. Okay.
We're of a certain age.
Yeah, we're of a certain age. And a lot of times I know I'm coming across the women who have put their lives together. They're taking care of themselves. They don't need a man. You know, I'm saying that with a smile on my face, but that's basically the general thought is like I'm doing bad or I'm doing good or bad by myself. You know what I'm saying? I don't need someone. And I'm not trying to be like the guy that she doesn't need me or anything else like that. But those are the things that I think are an issue when it comes down to older people dating. I want to say is like, where's his, especially here in California, where's he at, financially? And I'll be honest with you too, as a black man in California, and I'm not using race cards or anything else like that, but it's not easy for that person. You know what I'm saying? It's not easy for us to be out there balling like y'all think we should be. You know what I'm saying? And
I think realistically as
Yeah.
women, we understand because we're in the struggle
yeah,
with you, but just like you, if not more too. I wanted to speak to you from having been married to you being a grown man, not been married yet.
right.
I think it's very important that you don't wrap your mind so much around what you think the opposing side is perhaps thinking and wondering of you. Marriage is give and take, and mature couples have survived off of that. I can be up one day, he can be down. I got him. He can be up one day, I could be down. He got me.
Okay.
That's how marriage works.
Right.
For mature people
Right.
who are ready to be married.
Right. I get that.
We don't go into, and we shouldn't go into a marriage always with the thought of, what can this person do for me? What can this person do for me? Because at the end of the day, a marriage really should be, I'm trying to beat you doing things for me. You
Gotcha.
understand what I'm saying?
Right.
Let me cook his best meal tonight, and you could be at the store. Let me pick up what she like to eat, And so there's a give and take there. I don't want you to be scared to step out there because of what you think. Now let's go back. Let's go to the biblical principle.
Okay.
Adam, like you said, chilling in the garden. Adam had everything he needed. There was nothing he had need of.
Right.
God said, it is not good for man to be alone.
True.
That's what God said.
Right.
So he sent what was called a helpmate. Many say a help meet, whatever you want to call it. He took her from his rib and he made someone that he could be attracted to, that could take up space in his heart, that was voided, that can get him when he was down. All the things that he didn't foresee, she
Right.
was those things.
Right.
So don't look at getting married like, oh, I can't perform here, or I can't do this, or I can't do that. God gonna send you exactly who can deal with you where you are, and y'all can grow together.
Okay.
However God does it, we don't know what God is gonna do, but I think it's paramount. I think it's important that you step out of that mindset of, I don't know if I can do this for her. I don't know if I can maintain this. I understand, because to me, I feel like you're a very mature thinker. You think for your future and you're thinking about somebody else, but also that can be a self prison too.
Oh, yeah.
Because we're our hardest critics. We're our biggest critics. Me, I put on some weight. So in my mind, I've been beating myself up. Nobody want nobody plus size and big. And then all the while, I'm seeing plus size women bigger than me getting married, being proposed to. So it reassures me that there is somebody out there that's looking for exactly what you are.
Okay.
Just like you are. And if, again, somebody gets with you and they trying to make you be anything other than who Bill is, it wasn't for you in the first place.
Okay.
But your wife gonna have you. Period. Period. So that's what marriage is.
Okay.
Marriage is not always liking each other either. You know, marriages that have survived, if you talk to and interview people that have been married for, you know, a significant amount of years, they'll tell you, I didn't always like her. I didn't always like him. But the one thing that I find beautiful about marriage is you get on my nerves. You get on my nerves. But you know, when you lay down at night, you could not live without that person.
Right, right, right.
That's how you know you're in the right space. I love you. You get on my nerves, but I know I can't live without you.
Right,
and
right, right.
that is the type of situation that I'm trying to be in, a mature situation where we understand and agree that every day ain't going to be Sunday in the house. We're going to have fallouts. We're going to have up days. We're going to have down days, as long as we are willing to do it together. I vow not to try to change you, and you don't vow to change me. We have to love each other right where we're at. But those places where we lack, we can grow together.
Right.
So that's the mindset,
Right.
not the one where you already kind of killed the marriage horse.
Okay. Well, let me defend my stance.
Defend, my brother, defend.
Let me defend my stance for a minute. I get what you're saying. I am a thinker, of course. Those
Yeah.
who know me know I'm very analytical. I
Nothing
do
wrong
think,
with that.
and it's helped me out. I don't want to be married and then down the road it's like, okay, that didn't work out. So I want to make sure that I'm trying to do my part to try to keep, whatever I can do to make sure that when we get together, we're going to stay together somehow, some way. I can't control where this person's coming from or anything, but I can try to
Do your
control
best for you,
what I
what
can
you
do.
can
Right.
do.
And so that's what I've been kind of working on my whole adult life, including trying to find stability in my business and everything else like that, where I will feel comfortable. The thing is, again, is during my times of dating, even during this time, I'm just coming across people who I think they're looking for something else. You know what I mean?
And then too, you know what? I think also when we speak about relationships, kind of piggybacking off of what we initially started talking about. But I think that when we start discussing relationships, you also have to consider not just the question of, am I prepared to deal with this? Is this person going to be here for the long haul? Things like that. But you also have to kind of do that self-evaluation of do I have the time? Am I willing to sacrifice the time? Because I know a lot of situations, a lot of people that I know, one of the main arguments in their dating lives is, well, you don't have time for me. And that's a big deal. That's a big deal because to me, people make time for what they want to make time for.
Okay.
And especially in a relationship, you can't be with somebody and leave them for 48 hours and think you could come back and y'all still in a relationship. No, that's a no-show.
Right.
In my mind.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? So it's like there are so many different avenues and so many different elements to dating to consider. So I just feel like the way to better have a better, I guess we can close out on this. The way to have a better dating environment is learning how to bridge that gap between women and men. And I think the biggest thing that we don't take into consideration is men are cerebral. You all think with your brains first. Everything filters through the brain. You're cerebral.
Oh, yeah.
Women, God gave us the heart portion.
Okay.
So everything that we feel filters through here first.
Okay.
So you might not have meant to hurt me from what you said out of your mouth, but it did hurt me because it filtered here first.
Okay.
And I might not have meant to hurt you and your ego, but it went to your head.
Okay.
And so you're hurt. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
We have to learn how to bridge the gap.
Oh, yeah.
Men and women don't really know how to talk to each other, which is sad.
I agree. I totally agree.
You just came from something and the men and women weren't mingling.
Yeah, that's correct. That is correct.
It's like, how do we bridge that gap? We gotta learn how to talk.
That's true.
It's Florida. Don't flirt a little bit. That'll find a conversation piece.
Wow. So much that was said, so much that still needs to be said. We hope you enjoyed this podcast tonight. I want to take the time out right now to shout out Amanda. She's not here. She's out of town. But I asked her to come in and help me to do this podcast, and she understood the assignment. It's all about trying to help someone. She shared her experience. It helped me. I'm thinking I'm going to sit here and be transparent, and maybe by being transparent, my experience would help someone else. But she came in, she really helped me, so we want to give her a hand. She did an excellent job. Thanks, Amanda. All right. If you like this podcast, we want you to go to the YouTube page, my YouTube page, subscribe. We're going to do these maybe once, twice a month or whatever. And also we're going to do other podcasts other than just the single series. I already recorded another one. We're going to do one on the struggle of an entrepreneur. Anything that I can talk about me, I'll be up here talking about it. I have a platform. I'm going to use it. Okay. Amen. So the Sound Man podcast is going to be about a lot of stuff. And if you have a topic that you want to share, and you think it's going to be helpful to someone else, hit me up. We'll get it together. We'll put it together and we'll put it out there. Until the next time, God bless you, and we'll see you later.